One of the things that occurred to me when putting framework design Aikido together, and this is really an industry issue right now, is skills. What it is we need from our graduates, and so because he's a fellow vest provider, it was very easy for me to call up Bruce and ask him his thoughts. And suggestion was, why don't you come up and talk, not necessarily but as Bruce Jenkins, and really engage with the industry, and more than having graduates coming out of the system and being inserted into the studios. Let's see what we can do from an industry perspective to give him the feedback and have him understand what it is that we need, and have them have education, not only have education tailor their curriculum to what it is we require today. So let me introduce to you from the AIE, Mr. Bruce Jenkins.
I was going to run through a whole presentation, but I'm not going to. I'd rather cut a little bit to the chase and allow more time for you to hear the next speakers. I suppose I just want to start by saying what I'm trying to do here is speak on behalf of education overall, rather than just on behalf of AIE, in what education can do better to engage with industry so that industry ends up getting good people. I've been at the AIE for about 10 months now as head of school in Melbourne. Bit of background though, I ran an animation studio for quite a while, Animation Works. We had a staff of about 50. We just had Pentium 90s had just come out, so that was where we were at with about 8 PCs. And the example I was just going to give in terms of education was back then, the first day I started in the job as studio manager there, I just found out when I got in that morning, because I didn't read the Herald Sun, that the day before there'd been a big article in the paper saying that Animation Works was looking for graduates and was going to take on, sorry, not graduates, trainees, and was going to take on at least 20 trainees, along with another studio called Mickey Duck that was going to take on 40, so I think we totaled 60. And so I was inundated with calls on my first day in the job about people telling me about how their son or daughter's a really good artist and you should give them a job. And we ended up distilling it over about 3 months into taking 20 people. They were taken on in what's called a group training scheme. And we were all new to that. We had 20 start off. Within a year, we had 2. And to this day, I don't think any of them still working in the animation industry. And the problem was that we had to design our own training for them. They were expected to produce work along the way, and the training organisation had no idea about our industry. It turns out they were experts at teaching people to pour beers, which is quite valid, but no use to us. So it just proved to be a really big waste of time in terms of the trainees and also the studios. So I just wanted to sort of go over a few things briefly. I just sort of want to provoke a few questions that can be taken offline to myself and various other people from various universities around here. What expectation does industry have that graduates will hit the ground running? What training does industry believe it needs to offer beyond induction? And training has to match the needs of the industry. As I mentioned, there was that experience at Animation Works of a bunch of people coming in with no idea on what to do and us having no idea on how to train them. And there was a bunch of pressures that were going on because, as with the game industry, there's a really high level of expectation on you guys that a graduate will hit the ground absolutely running. So there's only a few avenues to get into the game industry. Now I'm open to be torn down on this one, but broadly speaking, most of you guys will have started at the ground up, really. So you will have started in a QA or testing role, possibly an internship, through coming in as a graduate from somewhere like AIE or RMIT, Swinburne, wherever, Quantum, or probably more so these days, possibly recruitment from a parallel industry. All of those ways of entering bring you in on the low end, but they also have a big demand once someone started there on being valuable straight away. It turned out that my scenario before at Animation Works of taking on these 20 graduates was driven by the producer seeing an avenue to a really good, cheap line of animators. So they did their bean counting at the time. I think we had to pay them $120 a week. They had to be productive 3 days a week and do training 2 days a week. What we got, the amount of rework involved in that exercise was just appalling. And there's a lot of pressure on you as studios to even not devote time to your own staff, to their own professional development, let alone when you're getting new people coming in to work for you, new graduates, giving them induction. So they're just a few areas to touch on that open up a door of why we should be talking more between education and industry to make sure that we can get the requisite skills. At AIE, we're particularly passionate that the skills need to be the underlying art skills. We don't particularly want to go and teach you how to use the Unreal Engine. We want to teach the programmer how the Unreal Engine may apply in the underlying C++ code or whatever other code. I'm in out of my depth when I start talking programming. You want focused graduates to come and work for you. You don't want people that just come in who have come from a multimedia background and have done a multimedia degree. So we really need feedback from you guys on how best to tailor courses for art students, for programming students, taking a bit from what Chris was talking about this morning. What extent do we need to cover aspects of game design within our art courses and within our programming courses? I would hazard a guess that while there might be interest out there in running game design courses, generally speaking, any of you guys who are either game designers or aspire to be game designers are working your way, whether it be through QA or whether it be through a programming field or an art field. You won't have come in saying, I did my game design course, now I can get a job as a game designer. You're going to have done your hard yards. So it's just trying to work out how education can best offer a course that and a set of skills that you would find helpful. And often it's the softer skills that are more important than the, you can learn the art side. As I mentioned before, it's not about learning programming. It's what other business skills you might need to have an understanding of where the developer sits in the whole food chain of game development, game production, game retailing, the whole picture. That's kind of all I really wanted to cover off on. I just think it's really important that we keep dialogue open and try to distill as much as possible what different game studios do into providing those different game studios with flexible graduates that are ready to adapt to any workplace. They need to understand that there will be a pipeline, but that pipeline is going to be very different if you're working on in a small independent studio in a team of 2 or 3 as compared to working at a big studio on a huge title with a team of 80 or 100. The last thing I just wanted to say was I'm actually reading here from something I got from 3D World recently where just emphasising the importance of the food chain. You guys in development need students to come in, need new staff, need new graduates, you need them trained. So you need to support us. You need them trained so that you can produce better quality games.